Hello, my name is Jason Garish. I'd like to welcome you to my studio. This is a studio that I put together in a spare bedroom within my house. The items in this studio are very inexpensive items that I've accumulated over the course of several years. The purpose of this video is to illustrate that you can put together a working studio on an extremely tight budget. This is by no means a professional grade studio, and it's not intended to be such. So, without any further ado, here's my studio. Thank you. Alright, we're going to start the tour with my primary amp, which is a Hot Rod Deluxe. It is a Texas Special. It was an item that I found in Guitar Center, picked it up very inexpensive. It was used and got a great deal on it. So that's primarily my amp right now. Once again, it's not an expensive amp. It's something that most people can afford. Below that is a rack that I made out of an end table that I purchased from IKEA, and a lot of, oddly enough, a lot of the furniture and whatnot that they sell, for some bizarre reason, has the specific dimensions that will fit a rack perfectly. So what I do is I bought that end table, I bought the components for the rack, and I put that together. So there's my rack mount system, which I have right now. I just have a Furman power conditioner in. My amp and my pedal board is plugged into. To the right of that, we have a Dean Vendetta 1000, which I picked up for $150. It was on sale at Guitar Center, and they actually didn't even know they had this one. They had to look in the back, and it was in the box, not even open. So I grabbed that. It was, like I said, very inexpensive. I had to take it. So to the to right of that, you'll notice you'll see the bass traps to the right of that. I'm working on getting more bass traps. As I go around the room, you'll see that not all the corners have as many bass traps as they should. It's very important in a room this size to have bass traps everywhere. So I'm working on getting more of those, but in the future I will have more bass traps. If we pan down here, that's my pedal board right there, and I don't have a whole lot. I pretty much just have noise gate on it, which is the decimator, ISP decimator. I have a classic overdrive, MXR classic overdrive. Next to that is an Echo Park from line 6, which I love. That is my primary Echo pedal, which I use primarily for slapback, but I use it for other things too. Next to that is a Gaiatone MD3, another great digital Echo pedal. They both work very well. The Echo Park is just way more versatile, so I primarily use that. Next to that is my CS3, Boss 3S3, and that primarily I do country, so I like to use a slapback echo with some compression, and that's my sound right there. I very rarely use any type of overdrive or any other type of effects. That's primarily it. So let's scan up. That's my Epiphone Acoustic. That was an acoustic I found at Media Play for about $70. It had some damage to it, but it plays and sounds amazing, so I'm very happy I picked that up. Right behind that, though, is my very first Telecaster. That was a special that Squier did in, I believe it was 2006. I could be wrong, but it was on clearance at Guitar Center, so the price was right. I bought it, and that was actually, that's the funny thing is, right above that is a picture of Brad Paisley, which when I bought the album Mud in the Tires, that's what inspired me to get a Telecaster. I heard that sound and I said, I want to sound like that. Unfortunately, I can't play like him, but I'll try my best to sound like him. So I went out and bought that Telecaster. This Telecaster here is my primary Telecaster. That's a Guitar Center Fender Special Run, an FSR. It's an ash body. It's Mexican made. Once again, very inexpensive guitar, and but it plays great, sounds great, and amazing enough, most people that see it or play it love it. So, and I love the guitar too. And this right here is another guitar that I bought basically on clearance. It was a demo model that they had in that Sam Ash had in the window, and because it was in the window, it had discolored the pick guard. So the pick guard was discolored. So what I did was I took the pick guard off. I spray painted it black, and I shielded all of the wiring inside there. I shielded it. So I did a little bit of work to this, not a lot, but I also replaced the nut. The nut was broken. It was too low, and the nuts on the Squire Affinities are junk, unfortunately. But I replaced that with a standard nut, so it has the standard spacing of a Telecaster, so the strings aren't really tight close together like you'd normally find on an Affinity. And oddly enough, I also replaced the neck plate. I just felt like replacing the neck plate. I'll show you that in a second here. I like Superman, so I put the Superman neck plate on. I found that on eBay. It was laser etched, so I grabbed it. If we pan over to the right here, behind the chair is an inexpensive electronic drum kit. This is a drum kit. It's kind of piecemeal from a couple of different things, but I think Target used to sell this. And like I say, it was just a really cheap drum kit, but it has a MIDI output on it, and there's some sample drums on there, and it does the job pretty much. And now, unfortunately, I passed over my bass amp, which is a Crate BX80, and once again, that's another item that I found on eBay for extremely cheap. So I bought that. It needed a little bit of work. I cleaned out some of the contacts in there. I replaced the speaker, and it gets the job done. I very rarely play bass anymore, so it's good to have that amp lying around though. But if we pan over to the right here, once we see my monitors, one of my studio monitors. They are the first generation of the KRK Rocket 5s. Picked them up at Guitar Center once again, and just a great monitor. They're active monitors. I think there's 75 watts. I could be wrong, but 5-inch driver, 5-inch woofer, and they're two-way, and they're great. They were the most flat monitors I could find in my price range, where I demoed other monitors and they seemed to either scoop the sound or sound tinny. They just affected the sound too much for my liking. I wanted something that was flat that would give a decent reference point, but still remain within my price range. I had established a price point, and I stuck below that. Before that, you can also see more of my foam, which that comes from a studio package, an Orlex studio package, which I purchased from musician friend, and that was a stupid deal of the day, and so I purchased an entire package for very inexpensive, and I've been going through and treating the room. I went through with a decibel meter. I tried different frequencies, went to different areas of the room, and I tried to make it as flat as possible. I played different frequencies at the same volume level, and just to see what would reverberate in the room. And unfortunately, because it's a small room with more corners than normal, even bass tends to reverberate greatly. So that's why I have the bass traps in there, and I need more bass traps. I will be putting more bass traps in here, but that's unfortunately, that's a very common trait of small home studios, is that they tend to reverberate the bass just because the room is so small and the corners are close. so you get reverberation from the corners. Now if I pan over to the right a little bit, you can see the laptop I primarily use for recording, which is a Toshiba satellite. It's an entry-level laptop that you can find, used to be able to find, I should say, at any Best Buy, and nothing special. I was using the Mackie U420D, which is a 4-channel mixer, 4-channel audio input device, but unfortunately, as you can see, or maybe you can't, the FireWire card that I was using is currently decided to stop working yesterday. So in its place, I'm behind it. You can kind of see the Zoom C5.1, I believe it's called, Pedalboard, which it also acts as an audio input device, as an audio device. It's kind of an interesting little thing. I picked that up at Sam Ash on clearance once again. Actually, both of those units, both the Mackie and the Zoom, I picked up on clearance from Sam Ash for very little, and they both work great. The Zoom is kind of interesting because it's also acts as a pedal board, as basically as like a multi-effect board, and it came bundled with Guitar Rig. It came bundled with some other software. It came bundled with Cubase, which I'm currently using to record with, Cubase 4, and it also has a tube preamp in there, a 12AX7. So it's kind of a neat little device. Below that, I have a couple of preamps. One is just an M-Audio Buddy. The other one is a PreSonus Tube Pre, which I've played around and I've replaced some of the I've replaced the tube in there a few times, just to play around. I was kind of surprised at the difference that the different brands make for tubes. The 12AX7s vary greatly between the manufacturers, and if you get some of the Russian tubes, like I've tried the Electro Harmonics, I've tried Sovtex, I've tried a few different brands, and I kind of, going online researching them, I found this one that I have currently has the lowest microphonics and lowest noise levels. So, and I can't remember, unfortunately, right now what's in there currently because I swapped out so many. But it's, for the price, it's an amazing little tube preamp. We go over to the right again. You can see my other KRK Rocket 5. Pan over a little bit more, and you can see one of my cheap lighting system here. Basically, I'm using a 3-point light system, but I'm just using household lighting. I'm using this a cheap lamp that I found with the home when I purchased the home, and it's got incandescent bulbs in it. I'm using incandescents just because for a couple different reasons. One is I don't like to use the compact fluorescents in the studio because the microphones and the pickups on my guitar tend to pick up the 60 cycle hum, and that's obviously a problem. That's a very, very big problem when recording, especially since I use single coil pickups, which single coils tend to pick up a lot more of that type of interference. But unfortunately right now I have to use the incandescents. Plus the incandescents have a broader light spectrum anyway. So especially since I'm recording with a 1080p camera, high definition here, which the camera itself, once again, that was a very cheap item I found on eBay. It's an Insignia 1080p camcorder, which I found for about $110, and it does the job really well. Right now, to record this, I'm using an MXL 990 condenser mic, which, once again, very inexpensive mic. I think I bought that as a stupid deal of the day at Musician's Friends. So all the equipment I'm using here is very affordable. It's very inexpensive, and if you save up, and I didn't buy this all at once. These are things that I've amassed throughout the years. So it's not like you have to go out and buy all of these things all at once. These are things that I've accrued throughout the years and assembled for this purpose. So let me take you over to the right more. And if I pan down, you can kind of see it's covered right now, but that is my MIDI controller, which is an M-Audio Keystation 88 ES. Once again, very inexpensive keyboard. I should say MIDI controller because it doesn't stand alone as a keyboard. You have to put it into a laptop or a PC to make it work, because it's not a standalone keyboard or synthesizer. It's just a MIDI controller. But that is basically my studio in a nutshell. Oh, I can kind of pan up, and I have fish on the wall. I like fish. It kind of gets me centered, and I like fish. I like tropical fish. I like saltwater fish. So that's basically, I threw that up there. Once again, though, the studio's still in the process of being done. It's still a work in progress. So what you see here could drastically change over the course of next year or two. I also plan on possibly getting a backdrop in here. I'd like to put backdrop in here so when I do shoot videos, there's a nice backdrop that will make it look a little more professional. But that's basically it. That is the tour of my studio in a nutshell. As you can see, it's a very small studio, just done in a bedroom that I wasn't using, and done on a very, very tight budget. So that's it, and I hope you enjoyed it, and look forward to hearing from you. Please subscribe, and thank you.